The Walking Dead wasn't just a show, it was a war. And no two characters embodied that war more than Rick Grimes and Negan. On one side, the sheriff who dragged a group of nobodies into the apocalypse and forged them into a family. On the other, the leather jacket warlord with a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire and a god complex the size of Georgia. Their collision should have been legendary, the kind of rivalry that defines an era of television. Instead, it became the story that broke the show in half. Because Rick versus Negan wasn't just a battle for survival, it was AMC's biggest betrayal. Think about it. For 6 seasons, this show was about Rick's rise. He was the leader who clawed his way out of hospital bed sheets, who bit out throats, who ripped men apart with his bare hands. Every season was a new challenge. The governor, Terminus, cannibals, cops, wolves, each battle sharpening him into the ultimate survivor. Rick wasn't just leading a group, he was leading us. And then Negan walked in, swaggering out of an RV like he owned the world. Lucille dripping in the moonlight, that smile that said, "I'm not here to kill you, I'm here to humiliate you." This was supposed to be the clash we'd all been waiting for. Sheriff versus warlord, order versus chaos. But instead of a heavyweight fight, AMC gave us a circus. Let's start with that infamous Season 6 finale, the lineup. Rick and his people on their knees, terrified for the first time in years. Negan pacing like the devil himself, promising to remind everyone who really runs the world now. It was one of the tensest scenes in television history. And then, black screen. AMC dragged fans through 6 months of cliffhanger torture just to reveal Glenn and Abraham's skulls in the premiere. Yes, it was shocking. Yes, it went viral. But it wasn't storytelling, it was manipulation. Instead of a rivalry built on strategy, morality, and survival, AMC reduced Rick versus Negan to a jump scare stretched across 2 seasons. And here's where things really went off the rails. In the comics, Rick and Negan's war is brutal, yes, but it's also sharp. It's a chess match. Negan is terrifying because he's unpredictable, a sadistic joker with a code. Rick is compelling because every decision costs him pieces of his soul. It's about 2 leaders pushing each other to the edge of humanity. But AMC, they decided all-out war should be 2 seasons of filler. Instead of war, we got Tara wandering around like she was in a Beach spin-off, Eugene monologuing about bullets for 3 years, and Carol staring at walls like she was auditioning for a perfume commercial. Every time you thought the story was about to explode, the writers hit the brakes. And Negan, instead of being the monster who broke Rick, he became a cartoon. Dad jokes, smirks, monologues longer than the apocalypse itself. He wasn't menacing, he was annoying. You didn't fear him. You rolled your eyes every time he opened his mouth. And Rick, the man who tore out throats and went to war with tanks, was reduced to a shell. AMC neutered their strongest character just to keep Negan in power. They didn't want a rivalry. They wanted a Negan show with Rick as a background prop. By season 8, the cracks were too big to ignore. Every episode dragged. All-out war was less war and more community theater. Gunfights with no consequences. Fake-outs piled on fake-outs. Rick had no real wins, no real growth. Negan had no real losses, no real depth. The supposed war of the century became a slow-motion parade of missed opportunities. And then came the insult of all insults. Rick versus Negan doesn't even end properly. Instead of Rick delivering the justice fans had been waiting years for, AMC forced him into a mercy play. Rick slits Negan's throat, then saves him, declaring, "We're gonna build a future." Excuse me? The same Negan who bashed Glenn's head in until his eyeball popped out is suddenly the foundation of Rick's dream utopia? That wasn't character growth. That was AMC trying to squeeze out another season. And it gets worse. Rick exits the show in season 9, meaning the rivalry never gets closure. Negan sticks around, morphing from monster to comic relief to, God help us, a babysitter for Judith. The man who burned people alive with irons is suddenly cracking eggs and planting tomatoes. That's not redemption. That's narrative betrayal. Fans didn't want Rick versus Negan to end in gardening. They wanted fire, blood, a definitive ending. By the time AMC finished with them, both characters were ruined. Rick went out not with a bang, but a helicopter. Negan went from icon to sitcom dad. And The Walking Dead, once the most watched show on television, bled viewers like a zombie herd. The war that should have defined the series became the war that killed it. So here's the truth. Rick versus Negan could have been legendary. It could have been one of TV's all-time rivalries, right up there with Walter White versus Gus Fring or Tony Soprano versus the world. Instead, it became a cautionary tale of what happens when a network values cliffhangers and cash cows over storytelling. AMC wanted ratings, they got memes, and in the process, they destroyed the very core of the show. So was Rick versus Negan the battle that saved The Walking Dead, or the battle that finally killed it? Honestly, it was both. For one brief moment, it gave us tension like nothing else, and then it dragged the entire series into the dirt. Rick vs. Negan wasn't the fight that defined TWD, it was the fight that exposed how far AMC had fallen. Now I want to hear from you. Did you think Rick vs. Negan lived up to the hype? Or did AMC waste the greatest rivalry in zombie TV history? Drop your thoughts in the comments. You know I'll be reading. Smash the like button if you ever rage quit during Season 8. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more brutally honest takes on how The Walking Dead went from legendary to laughable. This is Undead Opinion, where the zombies might be fake, but the bad writing decisions are all too real.